What's up, everybody? So, a few months ago, we received a very specific brief from CBS Sports for the Army Navy football game. And I'll actually share the brief with you later. And I gotta say, it's like always really, really cool when you actually nail the brief and then they use your music, which happened to be the case for this particular cue that I'm going to share with you. So, y'all know how we do it. First, we'll take a listen to it. The cue is called For Love of Country, and then we'll talk about it on the flip. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to share with you the two ways that they use the cue during the game. All right, so let's get to it. Okay, so again, the name of the cue was For Love of Country. And as I told you guys, so this was for the Army Navy football game that happened at the end of 2024. So let me do this first. So I'm going to read the brief to you. Let me find my notes here. All right, so notepad. So this is actually the brief that we got. And it says, hey, we just got a call from CBS. They're looking for driving, grand, patriotic music that can work for aerial shots, bumpers, and teases, reteases, both dramatic and hopeful. Although not specifically said, we think they're looking for something that combines traditional with a modern vibe, something with a clear American patriotic vibe, yet modern cinematic production. Orchestral programming needs to be top notch. So that's the brief. that's what you get. Sometimes, and you do get some references. And I can't recall if the refs came from CBS or if the refs came from the publisher. So basically, that's kind of what you get to go off of. So obviously, we know that, or at least for me, I knew that I wanted it to be in a minor key, but to still have that kind of feel, that for that kind of that 4/6, excuse me, 1/5 kind of feel to it, and I knew I wanted it to have a feel of 3. So the key is F sharp minor. The tempo is 90 beats per minute. And like I said, with me wanting to have a 3 feel, I put it in 12/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So it has that kind of feel. And then I structured it similar to a trailer, wherein you hear the various acts, and I'm sure you could hear the different acts as we kind of went through the cue. So for me, obviously, there's some things when you say heroic, you say patriotic. You think about some of the, movies that you might see, that kind of deals with the military and kind of what those cinematic soundtracks sound like. So that was kind of bopping around in my head. I felt like horn was a very important instrument to utilize, in this regard. Obviously, piano, and then, your regular, orchestra, if you will. And then, of course, drums. Important from the standpoint of just, having that type of military feel, if you will. So, I guess let's kind of jump into the cue. So I'll start at the intro. So one thing that you'll notice is, first of all, the intro is very short. It's a 15-second intro. And basically what I'm doing, I use a solo horn, piano, and a pad. And of course, a bass just kind of to outline the chords. Excuse me. And just with a simple hint at the melody with the horn. So the horn here is playing this melody here. And just kind of hinting at what the melody is, and then I just support that from a chordal structure with piano and pad. And let's see what I'm using here. So I am using the Angelic Plectrum piano, which I actually I love in Keyscape. It's just a really cool. I like it because of the top end that it gives you, and you see it's a Dulciola and a LA Custom C7. But I just love that top end sparkle that this combo gives you. So that's what I'm using for the piano, and then for the pad, I'm using Omnisphere. And I'm using this gorgeous analog dark pad. And it's just one of the, basic sounds, not any of, it's just a stock Omnisphere sound. So, and then just to carry that bottom, help carry the bottom, and I have. I think that is such a gorgeous sound. It's a mix of the bass, contrabass, and the cellos, and I just absolutely love this particular plug. Anytime I opt for this, over oftentimes the bass section that comes with my dog. I just loved it. This sound, it's just a really beautiful sound. So that's what I'm using there. And then I do have it supported with the sub bass. Might have to have headphones or speakers to hear it. just to give you that, that low 40 hertz. You just want to have that substance there. And then I have a couple of sub booms that I'm using from Damage, which are very important in the trailer type of cues to have that, that little sub boom. So we have, and I don't even recall like what I am using there, but let's see if we can find it. Sorry about that. MIDI channel 3. So I actually have it, and then I have MIDI channel. So yeah, so I'm using TrailerMade from Damage 2, and the hybrid sub is what I'm using. You see I have it all the way at the back of the stage because I want to kind of have that kind of far feel. And I mean everything pretty much, up in terms of the room's about halfway, but closes up, the hall's up. I got the low, the LFE on because obviously I want that low subby sound. So that's all we have there to open it up. So super simple, to open it up. So we kind of come out of that, like I said, we got 15 seconds, and then I make sure I give them a nice edit point. So I'm just going to get you one bar and then get you into the edit point. And then in the next section, I'll just let it play. You see that we start with an ostinato in the low strings, and then still shaping the chord very simply with the same piano and the same pad. But you'll see that I actually pull the sub bass out, I think. I pulled the sub bass out in this next section here. Oh, and then just to give you guys the changes that I'm using. So I'm in F sharp minor. So I go F sharp minor, D major, C sharp minor, E major. And then the second half of the phrase, F sharp minor, D major, A major, and then I go G sharp over E. Just, so it's just not exactly like what you would, your ears are going to tell you you're going to hear. I wanted to just change it up. So adding the C sharp minor chord and then adding the 7, adding the 7 or the 2, depending upon how you're looking at it, instead of the 5, or of course what would that be, the 7 if the E, or whatever, depending upon how you look at it, the flat 7. Okay, so again, so let's listen, pay attention to the edit point and all that, just to give them an option. If they need to cut, they can do so, and then we're into the next section. So that section there, you hear how we just do a slow build. I mean, we do the ostinato. Now we go to short tones in our bass, and like I said, no sub bass, because we want to have, we want to feel the weight kind of that bottom when we get to the next half of it, when we bring our horn, back in to give us that melody again. And then the other thing is I add just a little timpani hit. I add a timpani hit here. You heard that? I think I did a tom roll. So that's the timpani and the toms working together. And then the only other thing is I add some sticks in there, and this is Hans Zimmer percussion, where I'm using some sticks. And notice the big thing here is the accent of the sticks. And so I'm using sticks in, what is that, boom bags or darbuka or something. I don't know which instrument it is, but so just to help us kind of drive along with the ostinato that's happening. So that is it for that section. And then we come in to the horn still hinting at the melody. The horn still is not playing the full melody as of yet. And then we have another edit point, I think on the tonic this time, before we finally get into the theme. Okay, so this section here, well, I'll replay the first half. So the second half of the theme going into the second edit point. So we're already in our second edit point, and we'll probably be at about 48 seconds or something like that. Okay, so now we are finally into the theme, the full theme here. Obviously a little different than writing a sports cue. Like I said, this is a specific request for a specific need. So this cue is structured a little differently. You see how it takes us a minute, just giving them options, to be able to utilize the music, just different options. So now when we get here, we finally get to the full theme of the horns. It's the first time we hear that full theme. And then you'll notice what I did is I went away from the solo horn, and now I am utilizing excuse me, I'm utilizing the horn ensemble now. So now when that theme comes in, it carries a little more weight, and this is what we have here. So much is really kind of heroic and patriotic. I mean, you kind of really feel that now. And then just to give it a little kind of that marchy kind of push, I added some little pop, pop, pop type of hits with the short trombones. And if I just play those so you can really hear it. And you see here, not hitting, really hard or anything like that. My level's only about 73 of my expression and my modulation, with just a little lift as we kind of go, into the second half of the section there. And then what I am using for my bones is... we go, BBC Symphony Orchestra, the staccatissimo articulation. And I don't think I did anything with the mics. Oh, yes, I did. So here's the way that I do have the mic set. So you see I got the close pull back to only 23%, mostly the tree and the outriggers in terms of what I'm using for my mix there. All right. And then we now have a little more development within our percussion. So I'm just going to play for you just a little piece of this section with our percussion. So that's, the section before. And now when we get into the section with the full melody, let me go a little early so you'll get... So just a little more driving, and basically what I'm doing is I double up a military snare and a tenor snare here. So I just got the snares doubled up. Of course, it's time for the piatti to come in. Got a tam tam, in kind of, and I add, well, the tubular bells hit it sooner, but the tubular bells are in there as well, and then I just have, some low damage drums in there as well. So we got like low taiko. So we have low taiko, and then we have some low drums hitting with that. And then we add the Hans Zimmer percussion. And if we add the snare drums. So you notice the other thing that I do to kind of give it that military kind of vibe, in terms of my snares. What's happening with the snares, and I'll isolate that for you. So real, I mean, I'm really trying to give it that, that military, type of feel, and then you see how we have that, set there in terms of what it looks like. We don't want everybody to play. And you also hear the accents, which is really important as well. Those small little details actually do, really help, as you're building everything. And then this is the first time that I also introduce my low brass. So I have Pandora and Monster Low Brass. Excuse me, let me get some water. And I also have those double with the bass clarinet. And it makes a difference. I mean, you can't really hear, but you can certainly hear how the color changes. And it just gives you just a little more presence and a little more power. So that is the first half when they come in. And then what I do when we get to the second half, I introduce some short trumpets, and then something that I may do sometimes if I just want a little more lift. I could have gone 12 horns or something like that, but what I do here is I actually double the horns with a synth. So when we get to the second half of it, I'm going to come out of this first half, getting to the second half, so you can feel how it lifts a little more, and then I'll isolate for you what we're doing there. So again, just continuing to build. Now the trumpet, doing that kind of, double tongue or triple tongue, type of deal. And let me show you what this looks like here. So that's what it looks like kind of programmed out. So we have that going on with our trumpets, but then I took, let me see what's in, it says Omnisphere Big. So I have this big synth patch that I'm using is a Jupiter accentuator that I'm using to double the horns just to give that melody just more presence when we get there. And this is what this sounds like. It's big too. So, is no layer. We want to layer. We want to give it more bigger feel. They wanted it cinematic sounding. So again, that's why we're layering and, synths and things of that nature just to give it a bigger feel. So if we play that synth with our horns, we get this. So it just gives it a really, unrealistic, but for this, it worked in terms of what I was looking to accomplish. And then the other thing that you will notice when we got to this section, and I do this a lot as well, is I layered in a synth for my ostinato as well. So again, so the ostinato is this. And then I just like to layer in a synth. And when we put all the short strings in together, it sounds, really good. I like doing it a lot, and I've seen, a lot of composers, do this as well. So I mean, really, I just kind of borrowed it, quite honestly. But here you go. And then if we add in our cellos and our bass. And then we add our sub bass. And now, you just start getting, that sense of it just really feeling, big and feeling cinematic. So when we come out of this second half now, or this second act, now we're about to get into the third act, which is the biggest act of the cue. So what I do is I have another edit point, and this is a cliffhanger edit point that I do here, and then I set up the final act with really, really big aggressive drums. Excuse me. And then in the first half of the final act, I add men's choir, more drums, and I add another horn layer. And I changed the harmonic structure slightly. So see if you can identify all those things as I get into the first half of the third act, coming out of the last piece of the second act. So first, if you heard a harmonic change, I think I did F sharp, D, maybe, what did I do? I have to listen to it, but I think I did F sharp, D, A, and then to the G sharp over E, and then kind of flipped it around. So instead of F sharp, D, C sharp, I went straight to the one, and then I kind of flipped around just to make it, interesting, and so your ears don't get just totally used to hearing the same exact progression over and over. And so you heard we added the men's choir just for some power. And again, that I don't know, just that heroic power or whatever, and a little more support. So they're just. And what we are using there is the East West Hollywood Choirs Diamond, And then I am using the men's Epic Ah, which I love. And you see, I mean, it sounds fantastic. So we add, like I said, the men's choir there, and then the other layer of horn that I add just to give it a little more is I add the BBC four horns with the horns that are already there. How about we, y'all can take a little break, fellas. All right, so this is the four horns from BBC. And it's a really warm sound. They're really warm sounding horns. They don't sound, really, obnoxious or like super, brassy or anything like that. But, just adding them in. So now we have this. So it just gives us just a little more, as we get into the final act. And then I also, layered in some more drums as well. And basically what I did is I added some toms. So we have now these toms here. And what I am using there is the concert toms, or I'm sorry, the tom hits from Center. It's still concert toms, but the hits. And this is from Center Perk. So I just add those in, and so now our drums sound like this in this final section. I'll start here. And the other thing I did add was I added ferrum as well, just to give it some more power. So we have. That sounds absolutely like bonkers crazy, right? By itself. I mean, it just sounds obnoxious, by itself. But when you hear it in context, like with all the other drums, you don't even realize that it's some lunatic, like just beating the crap out of some metal, something right there, right? But it kind of works with all the drums. So now with all of them, man. And of course, we want that pacing, just to again continue to give it that feel. So that is the first half of the final act, and then what we do to give it another lift in the second half of the final act is I add high violins and a women's choir, along with trumpets on the melody. So now the melody just soars. I mean, it just sings. So I'll take you about halfway through the first half, so you can feel the lift getting into that last half of the final act with those added elements. So we're listening for high violins, women's choir, and the trumpets now shifting off to help carry the melody. So another huge cliffhanger edit point at the end. And oftentimes what you will see in trailers is they have what you call a coda, and pretty much it's sort of a revisitation of what you heard on the front end, which is pretty much what I have here, except what I did is I shifted that final melody to the cellos, as opposed to leaving it on the solo horn, just to give it something different. So the coda is just simply this. And that's it. I mean, there you have it. That is, like I said, kind of how I put this together. You know, and as I said, I was really fortunate that CBS Sports chose to use it. So they used it in like a special, presentation segment, of the show. So I'll show you that. And then they also used it like to open up. Like a full minute or something to open up the day. Now that video, I'm going to have to go out and get that. You'll see anyway, because I have that on track.io. They found that one for me, and it's a little cheesy video with cheesy audio, but I just want to show it to you. So this is first, let's see here. This is the CBS, the one where they did the special presentation or whatever. So this is the first, the second usage, because this I think came at halftime or right before the third quarter. Here we go.
The Joe Moore Award, the only award in college football given to a unit rather than a single player, honors the nation's best offensive line. The award was named after Joe Moore, the famous line coach who began at Pitt in 1977 and served in the Army himself. Last night, our own Aaron Taylor, co-founder of the Joe Moore Award, was on hand at the Army Team Hotel to surprise the Black Knights with the honor.
And the Army running game has been running behind that.
Okay, so that was, again, that was the first usage. So if you heard, it sounds like they used that, so that this piece here with the ostinato going. So they started here. So they pretty much use, after that intro section, they use this section here. In the cue before it got into the big, first theme, if you will. So that's what they use for that. So now, let's see if I can do this, guys, and you can actually see it. I don't know. Can you see that? Yeah, you should be able to see that. So what I'm going to do is go into... I'm gonna go into here. All right, and I'll go try to find this thing. All right, so let's hide that, and then we're gonna find that particular performance, which was, I think, in November. Okay, so wait a minute. Where we at? Okay, CBS, no. Okay, so here we go. So For Love of Country, and as you see, well, can you see that? Let me move this over. So here it is, and you see it, man, it was a 55-second usage, which is awesome. I mean, all submitted. Now, track, guys, the video is not that great and the audio is not that great, but you can, I just want you to kind of see the usage.
We are here in Washington, D.C. for the playing of what many call the greatest rivalry in sports, the Army-Navy football game. As we embark on the 125th anniversary of this game, here's what some of the players had to say.
Winning a CIC is always the #1 goal every season. So really nothing matters of what we've done this season so far other than beating Navy and finishing off the CIC.
We each go through similar things throughout our cadet lives, and that we're each playing for the same thing, that we're ultimately going to serve our country. It just deepens the rivalry and deepens the competitiveness.
In every other aspect, we're similar, and we respect them and everything they do, but on the football field, it's just different.
Beating Army here at Navy, it means everything, right? You're kind of driven in day one that, you have to beat Army. Go Army, beat Navy. Go Navy, beat Army.
You see there, which was really cool, they started in the same place, but they let it play through the edit point and then went into this first section as well. So they started, here at the start of the ostinato and let it play through probably up to, about here before I think the trumpets came in. So, again, the cool thing is got a couple of usages out of it for that particular game. But not only that, then it played again during like the Hula Bowl. I think, I don't know if that's some type of all-star game or something like that, but the Hula Bowl, whatever the Hula Bowl was, they used the cue again during the Hula Bowl. So, and it may have been that one of the players from Army and Navy may have been in the Hula Bowl and they wanted to kind of, throw back and talking about that game or whatever. So you never know like how your cues can get used. But I think the kind of one of the most important things that I want to talk about is being able to get that brief, to digest it, and then try to interpret as best you can, what they're looking for. And look, it's very fortunate when you're able to do that, because there have been obviously briefs that I've written for that I haven't gotten. So you don't get them, all the time, but when you do get it, it's really, really sweet, and it's rewarding for the work that you put in and the effort that you put in. So just a little minute to say, hey, encourage you guys, let's keep working, keep going for it. And when you do, oftentimes good things like this will drop in your lap. So certainly appreciative for the opportunity, appreciative to my publisher Rob Astor, my guy Dave Croft, who runs the 52 Qs community, and all the composers there, man. It's a great group of composers and stuff that really support each other, push each other, celebrate each other. A lot of us wrote for this same brief. And we celebrate each other. Like, we might not get it, and somebody else we know gets a brief. Like, I know one of the composers, Dave, and another composer, Jeff LaPlante, there was another brief where CBS was looking for something specific. I wrote for it, I wanted it, I didn't get it, but they did, and it was cool, man, and I was happy for them. And that's kind of the way it goes. What's for you is for you, and you're going to get it, and what's for somebody else is for them, and you celebrate them when they get it. So cool. All right, I'm off my soapbox now. Hey, if you like this video, if you found it helpful, insightful, encouraging, please like, please subscribe, please share it with somebody if you think it can help them. As always, just thanks so much for taking a minute to stop by my channel and check me out. And as I always say, peace and God bless.